let's go on to cross-examination. Now, if you're cross-examining, you get to ask leading questions. These are the questions that suggest your answer. You know, isn't it true at the time of the motor vehicle accident you didn't have a driver's license? You know, and you get to go in and lead these questions along, and you're trying to poke holes in the other side's case, damage their credibility.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jones. I have just a few questions about your testimony. You just testified that at the time of the motor vehicle accident, you were seated at the outside patio of Gluttony.
Yes, that's correct.
And was it your testimony that you saw the defendant's car, an AMC Gremlin, enter the intersection while the light was red?
Yes, I saw an AMC Gremlin enter into the intersection on a red light.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask that the clerk show the witness what was entered into evidence as Plaintiff's Exhibit A.
Hearing no objections, the clerk will provide the witness with Plaintiff's Exhibit A.
I'd like to direct your attention to what has been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit A. A few minutes ago, it was your testimony that this photograph was a fair and accurate representation of the outside patio at Gluttony, as it was at the time of the accident. Correct?
Yes, except there were people there when I was there.
And you wrote that X on the photograph to mark where you were sitting.
Yes.
I'd like to show the witness the document previously marked as Defense Exhibit B.
Have you provided opposing counsel with this document?
Yes, Your Honor. I provided her with a copy, and I have a copy for the court.
Any objections? Very well. You may hand the witness and the court copies to the attendant.
I'd like to direct you to the photograph marked as Defense Exhibit B. Do you recognize what it shows?
It appears to be a photograph taken from near where the first photograph was taken.
Isn't it, in fact, a photograph depicting the view of the intersection from the seated position you previously identified yourself as sitting at when you witnessed the accident?
It looks like it.
And does this photograph fairly and accurately depict that view?
Yes.
You can't see the stoplight in the photograph, can you?
That appears to be the case.
So you couldn't see the traffic signal at the time that you witnessed the accident, could you?
I'm not sure. Maybe not.
Thank you for your candor. I have no further questions for this witness. At this time, I would ask the court to receive the photograph marked as Defense Exhibit B into evidence.
Hearing no objection, it is received. And but you're going to just lead through and damage the credibility. Impeachment. If the person, you're going to want to have anything that might show that the person lied available and ready when you cross-examine the person. If they took a deposition before and they answered a question differently, you want that there to try to challenge them. If there's something that has been previously admitted into evidence and and they testify inconsistently, you're going to want to have that ready so that when you cross-examine them, you can challenge them and either get them to recount their recant their story or otherwise, show that they're lying. In the sample question or sample dialogue that I wrote, the witness, after being shown the exhibit with the X on it and testifying and affirming that that was where they were sitting, is shown another photograph and realizes that from where they're sitting, there's a bus stop standing between them and the traffic light, one of those kiosks, so they couldn't have seen it. So you're just challenging the credibility generally of that witness. You want your questions, in direct examination to be broad and open. In cross-examination, you want them to be narrow and pointed. You don't want to give the person any wiggle room. You want to force them to answer a question that's going to be yes, no, something fairly straightforward that they can't wiggle out of that much. You're going to use your notes from from their direct examination. You're going to need to keep your questions within the scope of the testimony that was previously asked. You don't get to expand in cross-examination and bring out completely new subjects. You have to limit it to what they were previously questioned on. And by the way, don't appear too hostile to a particularly sympathetic witness. Limit yourself to the important stuff. If it's something really trivial, Don't worry about it. Details oftentimes don't matter unless it points to a major point, unless somebody's like an accountant or something, in which case the details really count. But if you make a nun cry on cross-examination, you've gone too far. So always, treat the witness, if you can, with as much respect as possible, because you're drawing a fine line between proving that they're a liar and being a jerk. And you always want to show they're a liar, but you don't want to be a jerk about it. Last thing, know when to stop. There's always one question too many. Don't ask that one question too many. That undoes everything you've done. And then redirect, it's more or less like direct examination, except it's just eliciting more testimony to fix the credibility issues, to bolster the testimony that was damaged in cross-examination.